Don't you worry about that, my dear Pelly, said the Duke, patting him on the beak. My chauffeur will soon put a patch over it the same way he mends the tire on the rolls. Right now, we have far more important things to talk about than a little hole in the beak. We stood there waiting to see what the Duke was going to say next. Now listen to me, all of you, he said. Those diamonds were worth millions, millions and millions, and you have saved them. The monkey nodded, the giraffe smiled, the pelican blushed. Now, reward is too great for you, the Duke went on. I'm therefore going to make you an offer which I hope will give you pleasure. I hereby invite the giraffe and the pelican and the monkey to live on my estate for the rest of their lives. I shall give you my best and largest hay barn as your private house, central heating, shower, a kitchen, and anything else you desire for your comfort will be installed. In return, you will keep my windows clean and pick my cherries and my apples. If the pelican is willing, perhaps he will also give me a ride in his beak now and again. A pleasure, Your Grace, cried the pelican. Would you like the ride now? Later, said the Duke. I'll have one after tea. At this point, the giraffe gave a nervous little cough and looked up the sky. Is there a problem? Asked the Duke. If there is, do please to let me know. I don't like to sound ungrateful or pushy, murmured the giraffe, but we do have one very pressing problem. We are all absolutely famished. We haven't eaten for days. My dear Giraffe, cried the Duke. How very thoughtless of me. Food is no problems around here. I'm afraid it is not quite as easy as all that, said Giraffe. You see, I myself happen to be... Don't tell me, cried the Duke. I know it already. I'm an expert on the animals of Africa. The moment I saw you, I knew you were no ordinary giraffe. You are of the giraffeous variety, are you not? You're absolutely right, Your Grace, said the giraffe. But the trouble with us is that we only eat... You don't have to tell me that either, cried the Duke. I know perfectly well a giraffeous giraffe can eat only one kind of food. Am I not right in thinking that the pink and purple flowers of the tinkle tinkle tree are your only diet? Yes, sighed the giraffe, and that's been my problem ever since I arrived on these shores. That is no problem at all here at Hampshire House, said the Duke. Look over there, my dear Giraffe, and you will see the only plantation of tinkle tinkle trees in the entire country. The giraffe looked. She gave a gasp of astonishment, and at first she was so overwhelmed she couldn't even speak. Great tears of joy began running down her cheeks. Help yourself, said the Duke. Eat all you want. Oh, my sainted salt, gasped the giraffe. Oh, my naked neck. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. The next moment she was galloping full speed across the lawn and whinnying with excitement, and the last we saw of her, she was burying her head into the beautiful pink and purple flowers that blossomed on the top of the trees all around her. As for the monkey, the Duke went on, I think he also will be pleased with what I have to offer. All over my estate, there are thousands of giant nut trees. Nuts? Cried the monkey. What kind of nuts? Walnuts, of course, said the Duke. Walnuts! Screamed the monkey. Not walnuts? You don't really mean walnuts? You're pulling my legs. You're joking. You can't be serious. I must have heard wrong. There's a walnut tree right over there, the Duke said, pointing. The monkey took off like an arrow, and a few seconds later he was high up in the branches of the walnut tree, cracking the nuts and guzzling what was inside. That leaves only the Pelly, said the Duke. Yes, said the Pelly nervously, but I'm afraid that what I eat does not grow on trees. I only eat fish. Would it be too much trouble, I wonder, if I were to ask you for a reasonable fresh piece of haddock or cod every day? Haddock or cod, shouted the Duke, spitting out the words as though they made a bad taste in his mouth. Cast your eyes, my dear Pelly, over there to the south. The pelican looked across the vast rolling estate, and in the distance he saw a great river. That is a river hemp, cried the Duke. The finest salmon's river in the whole of Europe. Salmon? Screeched the pelican. Not salmon? You don't really mean salmon? It's full of salmon, the Duke said, and I own it. You can help yourself. Before he had finished speaking, the pelican was in the air. The Duke and I watched him as he flew full speed toward the river. We saw him circle over the water. Then he dived and disappeared. A few moments later, he was in the air again, and he had a gigantic salmon in his beak. I stood alone with the Duke on the lawn beside his great house. Well, Billy, he said, I'm glad they are all happy. But what about you, my lad? I am wondering if you happen to have just one extra special little wish all for yourself. If you do, I'd love you to tell me about it. There was a sudden tingling in my toes. It felt as though something tremendous might be going to happen to me at any moment. Yes, I murmured nervously. I do have one extra special little wish. And what might that be? Said the Duke in a kindly voice. There is an old wooden house near where I live, I said. It's called a grubber, and long ago it used to be a sweet shop. I have wished and wished that one day somebody might come along and make it into a marvelous new sweet shop all over again. Somebody? Cried the Duke. What do you mean, somebody? You and I will do that. We'll do it together. We'll make it into the most wonderful sweet shop in the world. And you, my boy, will own it. Whenever the old Duke got excited, his enormous mustache started to bristle and jump about. Right now, they were jumping up and down so much it looked as though he had a squirrel on his face. By gad, sir, he cried, waving his stick. I shall buy the place today. Then we'll all get to work and have the whole thing ready in no time. You just wait and see what sort of sweet shop we are going to make out of this grubber place of yours. It was amazing how quickly things began to happen after that. There was no problem after buying the house because it was owned by the Giraffe and the Pelly and the Monkey, and they insisted upon giving it to the Duke for nothing. Then builders and carpenters moved it and rebuilt the whole of the inside so that once again it had 3 floors. On all 3 floors, they put together rows and rows of tall shelves, and there were ladders to climb up to the highest shelves and baskets to carry what you bought. Then the sweet and chalks and toffees and fudges and nuggets began pouring in to fill the shelves. They came by airplanes from every country in the world, the most wild and wondrous things you could ever imagine. There were gum tweezers and fizzwinkles from China, froth flowers and splizzlers from Africa, tummy tinklers and gob waggles from the Fiji island, and lipstickers and plush nuggets from the land of the midnight sun. For 2 whole weeks, the flood of boxes and sacks continued to arrive. I could no longer keep track of all the countries they came from, but you can bet your life that as I unpacked each new batch, I sampled it carefully. I can remember especially the giant waggadoodles from Australia, everyone with a huge ripe red strawberry hidden inside its crispy chocolate crust, and the electric fizzle cocklers, that made every hair on your head stand straight up on end as soon as you popped onto your mouth. And there were niche nobblers and gum globblers and blue bubblers and sherbers, slurpers and tongue rakers. And as well as all these, there was a whole lot of splendid stuff from the great Wonka factory itself. For example, the famous Willy Wonka rainbow drops. Suck them and you can spit in 7 different colors. And his stick jaw for talkative parents. And his mean jujubes that will give the boy next door green teeth for a month. On the grand opening day, I decided to allow all my customers to help themselves for free, and the place was so crowded with children you could hardly move. The television cameras and the newspaper reporters were all there, and the old Duke himself stood outside in the road with my friend, and the giraffe and the Pelly and the monkey watching the marvelous scene. I came out of the shop to join them for a few moments, and I brought each of them a bag of extra special sweets as a present. To the Duke, because of the weather was a little chilly, I gave some scarlet scorch droppers that had been sent to me from Iceland. The label said that they were guaranteed to make the person who sucked them as warm as toast, even if he were standing stark naked at the North Pole in the middle of winter. The moment the Duke popped one into his mouth, thick smoke came gushing out of the old boy's nostril in such quantities that I thought his mustache were going into flames. "Terrific!" he cried, hopping about. "Tremendous stuff! I'll take a case of them home with me." To the giraffe, I gave a bag of Glumpitious gobblers. The globogglers is an especially delicious sweet that is made somewhere near Mecca. And the moment you bite into it, all the perfume juice of Arabia goes squirting down your gullet one after another. "It's wonderful!" cried the giraffe as a cascade of lovely liquid flavor poured all the way down her long, long throat. "It's even better than my favorite pink and purple flowers." To the pelican, I gave a big bag of pistolets. Pistolets, as you probably know, are bought by children who are unable to whistle a tune as they walk along the street, but long to do so. They had a splendid effect upon the pelican, for after he had put one of them into his beak and chewed it for a while, he suddenly started singing like a nightingale. This made him wildly excited because pelicans are not songbirds. Now pelican had ever been known to whistle a tune before. To the monkeys, I gave bag of devil's drenchers. Those small fiery black sweets that one is not allowed to sell to children under 4 years old. When you have sucked a devil's drenchers for a minute or so, you can set your breath alight and blow a huge column of fire 20 feet into the air. The Duke put a match to the monkey's breath and shouted, "Blow, monkey, blow." A sheet of orange flame shot up as high as the roof of the grubber house, and it was wonderful. "I've got to leave you now," I said. "I must go and look after my customers in the shop." "We must go too," said the giraffe. "We have 100 windows to clean before dark." I said goodbye to the Duke, and then one by one I said goodbye to the 3 best friends I have ever had. Suddenly, we all became very quiet and melancholy, and the monkey looked as though he was about to cry, and he sang me a little song of farewell. We have tears in our eyes, and we wave our goodbyes. We so love being with you, we 3. So do please, now and then, come and see us again, the Giraffe and the Pelly and Me. All you do is to look at a page into this book, because that's where we always will be. No book ever ends when it's full of your friends, the Giraffe and the Pelly and Me. The end.